The great ship moved through space like death itself. Its black hull stretched for miles, covered in sharp edges and weapon ports that could destroy entire cities. Inside the command center, Commander Zethlock stood 12 feet tall, his arms crossed behind his back as he watched the small blue planet grow larger on the screen. His natural armor plates gleamed under the red lights. Each plate was harder than steel and had kept his people safe for thousands of years. The razor-sharp claws on his hands could cut through metal like paper. His people, the Kethvar, were born to kill and conquer. They had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years, and no enemy had ever defeated them. "Sir, we are receiving signals from the planet," said Sub-Commander Vectar, his voice deep and rough like grinding stone. The creatures down there seemed to be talking to each other. Zethlock made a sound that was almost like laughter but colder. "Of course they are talking. They are probably begging their gods to save them." He moved closer to the screen, studying. The planet below. "What do our scans tell us about these humans?" The science officer, a young Kethvar named Gelron, checked his readings. "Commander, these beings are very weak. They have no natural armor, no claws, no sharp teeth. Their bones break easily. They only have 2 arms. Most strange of all, they seem to live only 70 to 80 years. 70 years? Zethlock could not believe it. His own people lived for 500 years, plenty of time to become perfect killers. How can such short-lived creatures build cities and ships? We do not know, sir. But their technology is very basic. Their weapons could not even scratch our armor. This conquest will be the easiest in our history." Zethlock nodded. The High Command had been right to send only 1 fleet. This world would fall in a matter of days, maybe hours. He had conquered over 200 worlds, but none had been this simple. The humans would see his ships and surrender immediately, just like all the others. On the planet below, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the command center of the Earth Defense Force. The room was full of people running around, checking computers and talking on radios. Everyone looked scared, and Jake could not blame them. The message from the aliens had been clear: surrender or die. "Captain Morrison, President Santos is on the line," said his assistant, a young woman named Lisa Park. Jake picked up the phone. "Yes, Madam President." "Jake, what are we looking at here?" The president's voice was steady, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. "Something we've never seen before, ma'am. The ships are huge, maybe 10 times bigger than anything we've built. Our satellites can't even count how many weapons they have." "And the aliens themselves?" Jake looked at the images on his screen. The few pictures they had managed to get showed creatures that looked like nightmares. "They're big, ma'am, really big, and they look like they were built for fighting." President Maria Santos was quiet for a moment. "What are our chances in a straight fight?" "Honestly, 0. We might as well throw rocks at them. Then we better find another way. I'm calling an emergency meeting of all world leaders. Keep me updated." The phone went dead, and Jake stared at the screen showing the alien fleet. There were dozens of ships, each one carrying weapons that could destroy entire cities. Humanity had dreamed of meeting aliens for hundreds of years, but not like this. Dr. Alex Turner was in his lab when the call came. As Earth's best expert on alien life, everyone wanted to know what he thought about their visitors. He looked at the data and felt his stomach drop. "These creatures are perfect killers," he told his assistant, Dr. Rachel Green. "Look at their body structure. 4 arms means they can attack and defend at the same time. Natural armor means our bullets probably won't hurt them, and these claws," he pointed to the screen, "they could cut a human in half." "What about their behavior?" Rachel asked. "That's what worries me most. Look at how they move on their ships. They don't check corners. They don't watch their backs. They walk like nothing in the universe could hurt them." "Maybe nothing can." Alex shook his head. "Every creature in nature has predators, Rachel. Every single one. But these aliens, I think they forgot what it feels like to be hunted." In a military base outside Denver, Lieutenant Colonel Beth Adams was looking at the same information and coming to the same conclusion. She had fought in 3 wars and knew what real soldiers looked like. These aliens were something else entirely. "Ma'am, all our forces are on high alert," reported Major Rick Thompson, one of her best officers. But our weapons won't do much good, I know. Beth studied the tactical display. Rick, how long would it take to evacuate the major cities? Days, maybe weeks, and where would people go? If these aliens want to kill us all, hiding won't help. Beth nodded. She had been a soldier for 20 years, but she had never faced an enemy like this. The aliens had ships that could glass entire continents. They had weapons that could split mountains. And from what the scientists said, each alien soldier was worth 10 human ones. But Beth had learned something in her years of fighting. The strongest enemy was not always the one who won. Sometimes the smartest enemy won. Sometimes the most desperate enemy won. Rick, start calling our special forces teams. All of them. Ma'am, if we can't fight them head-on, maybe we can fight them another way. Above the planet, Zethlock was growing impatient. It had been hours since they arrived, and the humans had not surrendered. Most species sent messages begging for mercy by now. Some tried to fight with their primitive weapons, but these humans were doing nothing. Sir, should we begin the attack? Asked Vectar. Not yet. Send them another message. Make it clear what happens to those who resist the Kethvar Empire. The message went out to every human communication device on the planet. Zethlock's image appeared on television screens, computer monitors, and phones around the world. His forearms spread wide, his claws extended, his armor gleaming. Humans of Earth. His voice boomed in perfect English, translated by their computers. I am Commander Zethlock of the Kethvar Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You have 1 day to surrender completely. Lay down your weapons, gather in your cities, wait for our forces to take control. If you resist, we will kill every living thing on your planet. You cannot fight us. You cannot hide from us. You cannot win. The message ended, and Zethlock smiled. Tomorrow the conquest would begin. Tomorrow the humans would learn what it meant to face the galaxy's greatest predators. He had no way of knowing that down on the planet, in military bases and government, buildings around the world, humans were making plans. They were not planning to surrender. They were not planning to hide. They were planning to teach the Kethvar something new, something the great empire had never learned in 3,000 years of conquest. They were planning to teach them fear. The first Kethvar ships landed at dawn. They came down like falling stars, their engines roaring loud enough to shake buildings for miles around. Commander Zethlock chose the landing sites himself, just outside major cities where the humans could see their ships and understand how hopeless resistance would be. The doors of the massive ships opened with a hiss of alien air. Zethlock stepped out first, his forearms spread wide, his natural armor gleaming in the morning sun. Behind him came his warriors, each one 12 feet tall and built for killing. Their claws clicked against the metal ramp as they walked, but something was wrong. The city ahead of them was empty. No crowds of humans waiting to surrender. No panicked masses running in terror. Just empty streets and silent buildings. The wind blew trash across the empty roads, and somewhere in the distance, a car alarm was going off. Sir, said Sub-Commander Vectar, where are they? Zethlock looked around, confused. In 3,000 years of conquest, this had never happened. When the Kethvar landed, the enemy either attacked immediately or surrendered immediately. They did not just disappear. Send out patrols, Zethlock ordered. Find them. 5 miles away, Staff Sergeant Danny Rodriguez was watching the aliens through his binoculars. He was hidden in an old factory building with his team of 8 soldiers. They had been waiting here for 6 hours, perfectly still and silent. Jesus, whispered Private Tony Garcia. Look at the size of those things. Quiet, Danny said softly. But he understood what Tony meant. The aliens were huge, and those claws looked like they could cut through steel. But Danny had noticed something else, something important. The aliens walked like they owned the world. They did not check corners. They did not watch for snipers. They moved in straight lines down the middle of streets. They were acting like creatures who had never been hunted. Danny had grown up hunting deer in the mountains of Colorado. His father had taught him that the most dangerous animals were often the ones who had never learned to be afraid, but that also made them easy to surprise. "Rodriguez to base," he whispered into his radio. "The targets are moving exactly like we expected. They're not watching their backs." Miles away, in a hidden command bunker, Captain Jake Morrison received the report. Around him, dozens of officers were coordinating the strangest military operation in human history. They were not planning to fight the aliens head-to-head. They were planning something much more dangerous. "All teams, this is Morrison," he said, into his microphone. "Operation Ghost begins now. Remember, we are not trying to win battles. We are trying to make them afraid." Colonel Lisa Wright had spent 3 days planning this operation. She had studied every piece of information they had about the aliens, and she had noticed the same thing Danny Rodriguez had noticed. These creatures had never been prey. "The key," she had told the planning committee, "is that they expect us to fight like soldiers. But we're not going to fight like soldiers. We're going to fight like guerrillas, like hunters, like ghosts." The first Kethvar patrol entered the city 30 minutes after landing. 10 warriors moved down the main street, their weapons ready, their armor gleaming. They expected to find humans hiding in buildings, or maybe trying to run away. They did not expect what actually happened. The patrol reached the center of town without seeing a single human. Then Private Garcia, hidden on a rooftop 3 blocks away, pressed a button on his remote control. The explosion was small, just enough to knock down a traffic light. But it fell across the street right in front of the alien patrol, making a loud crash. The Kethvar spun around, looking for the source of the noise. There was nothing there. "What was that?" asked one of the warriors in their harsh language. "Probably. They're primitive machines breaking down," said the patrol leader, but his voice did not sound as confident as his words. They moved the fallen traffic light and kept walking. 2 blocks later, another explosion knocked over a streetlight behind them. Again, they spun around. Again, there was nothing there. By the time the patrol reached the other end of the city, every warrior was looking over his shoulder. They had heard 6 explosions, seen 3 fires start and go out by themselves, and watched windows break in empty buildings. But they had not seen a single human. "Base, this is Patrol 7, the leader reported. "The city appears to be empty, but something is happening here." Zethlock was getting similar reports from all his patrols. The humans were nowhere to be found, but strange things kept happening. Supply trucks would break down for no reason. Sentries would report movement that vanished when other soldiers arrived to check. Equipment would malfunction in ways their engineers could not explain. "Sir," reported the head of communications, "we have lost contact with Patrol 12. "What? Do you mean lost contact?" "They stopped responding 20 minutes ago. We sent another patrol to their last known location, but found no trace of them." Zethlock felt something he had not experienced in decades of warfare: confusion. "Send a full squad to search for them, with heavy weapons." What Zethlock did not know was that Patrol 12 was not dead. They were tied up in the basement of an abandoned store, their weapons taken, their armor stripped away. Major Rick Thompson's Special Operations Team had ambushed them using tactics the Kethvar had never encountered. The ambush had been perfect. The aliens were walking down a narrow alley when Thompson's team struck from above, below, and both sides at once. They used nets, tranquilizer darts, and flashbang grenades. The Kethvar never had a chance to fight back. Now Thompson was studying one of the captured aliens. The creature was awake but tied up with steel cables. Its forearms were bound separately and its legs were chained to the floor. "Look at this," Thompson said to his team medic, Sergeant Amy Foster. "See how the armor plates connect? There's a gap right here and another one here." Amy nodded, taking notes. "And look at the eyes. They're designed for looking forward, not around. These things have terrible peripheral vision." This information went straight back to command, where Dr. Alex Turner was building a database of alien weaknesses. Every captured piece of equipment, every observation from the field teams, every detail about how the aliens moved and fought. "They're not invincible," he told Captain Morrison during their evening briefing. "They're just used to winning through strength and fear. but they've never fought an enemy that refused to be afraid. That night things got worse for the Kethvar. Teams of humans began moving through the darkness, placing strange objects near the alien camps. Not bombs, but speakers. Motion sensors, cameras, lights that would flash on and off randomly. The aliens found themselves surrounded by a world that seemed to be alive and watching them. Noises came from empty buildings. Lights appeared in windows where no one should be. Their own equipment started acting strange, as if invisible hands were touching it. Zethlock called an emergency meeting of his commanders. "What is happening here?" he demanded. "Sir, we think the humans are using some kind of advanced stealth technology," suggested Vectar. "Then why can our sensors not detect it?" No one had an answer. What the aliens did not understand was that humans had been playing hide-and-seek for thousands of years. They had been hunting and being hunted since before they built their first cities. They knew how to move without being seen, how to strike without warning, how to disappear like smoke. More importantly, they knew how to make noise in the dark when they wanted someone to be afraid. As the second day began, Zethlock realized that something was very wrong with his conquest. His warriors were reporting strange dreams. Sentries were jumping at shadows. Patrols were asking for backup even, when nothing was happening. For the first time in the history of the Kethvar Empire, their soldiers were learning what it felt like to be hunted. By the third day, more Kethvar ships were arriving. Commander Zethlock had requested reinforcements, something that had never happened in the history of single-fleet conquests. The High Command was confused, but sent 3 more fleets anyway. Sub-Commander Vectar met the new arrivals at the landing zone. The first commander off the ships was Rathnek, a veteran of 50 conquests. "What is the situation here?" Rathnek demanded. "Why do you need our help with these weak humans?" Vectar looked around nervously before answering. "Sir, these humans fight differently than any enemy we have faced. How differently can they fight? They have no claws, no armor, no real weapons. They do not fight us directly, sir. They hide. They strike when we are not looking. They make sounds in the dark. They make our equipment break. And then they disappear like ghosts." Rathnek laughed, but his laughter sounded forced. "You are afraid of creatures that hide? What has happened to the great Kethvar warriors?" That night, Rathnek learned what had happened to them. His camp was set up in a field outside the city, surrounded by guards and sensors. Everything was normal until midnight, when the whispers started. At first, it sounded like wind in the grass. But then the guards began to hear voices speaking in the human language. The voices seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. When the guards moved toward the sounds, they stopped. When the guards returned to their posts, the voices started again. "Sir," reported one of the sentries, "there are humans out there, but we cannot find them." Rathnek grabbed his weapon and went outside. He listened carefully, using his enhanced hearing. Yes, there were voices in the darkness, but they seemed to move around the camp in impossible ways, as if the speakers could fly or walk through walls. What Rathnek did not know was that Sergeant Kevin Price and his team had spent hours placing small speakers in the tall grass around the camp. The speakers were controlled by radio and could make sounds from any direction. The humans were actually half a mile away, safe in an old farmhouse, playing recordings of whispered conversations. "Team leader to all units," Kevin whispered into his radio. "Begin Phase 2. Around the alien camp, hidden devices began to activate. Motion sensors triggered lights that flashed on and off in the darkness. Recorded sounds of footsteps played from different locations. Small drones flew over the camp, just high enough to be invisible but low enough to create shadows that moved across the ground. By morning, not a single Kethvar warrior had slept. They sat in groups, weapons ready, staring at the tall grass that surrounded them. Every rustling sound made them jump. Every shadow made them raise their guns. "This is madness," Rathnek told Zethlock over the radio. "What kind of creatures are these humans?" "The kind that make us look over our shoulders," Zethlock replied. "The kind that make us afraid of the dark." Meanwhile, in a hidden laboratory, 50 miles away, Dr. Amy Foster was making a discovery that would change everything. She had been studying the captured Kethvar weapons and armor, looking for weaknesses. "Captain Morrison, you need to see this," she called excitedly. Jake Morrison looked at her computer screen. "What am I looking at, Doc?" "Their armor has a frequency resonance. If we hit it with sound waves at exactly the right pitch, it vibrates. Hard." "Vibrates how hard?" Amy smiled. "Hard enough to make them very uncomfortable. Maybe even hurt them." Within hours, human engineers were building new weapons. Not guns or bombs, but sonic devices that could make the alien armor shake and buzz against their skin. The first test came when a HFY patrol entered an abandoned shopping mall. Corporal Jenny Adams was hidden in the ceiling above them, carrying one of the new sonic weapons. She waited until the patrol was directly below her, then activated the device. The sound was too low for human ears to hear, but the effect on the aliens was immediate. All 5 warriors dropped their weapons and grabbed at their armor, trying to tear it off. The sound made their protective plates vibrate against their skin like angry wasps. They stumbled out of the mall, falling over each other in their rush to escape. Jenny and her team collected the dropped weapons and disappeared before reinforcements arrived. "Base, this is Adams," she reported. "The sonic weapon works better than we hoped. The targets were completely helpless." News of the sonic weapon spread quickly through the human resistance. Within days, similar attacks were happening everywhere the aliens went. HFY warriors began to fear enclosed spaces where the humans might be hiding with their new weapons. But the humans were not done adapting. Dr. Helen Carter, a language expert, had been listening to captured alien radio transmissions. She discovered something important about HFY psychology. They have never developed words for being afraid, she explained to the command staff. In their language, there are hundreds of words for different types of killing, but only one word that means anything like fear, and it refers to avoiding dangerous animals, not being hunted by intelligent enemies. Captain Morrison understood immediately. So when they start feeling afraid, they don't even have words to describe what's happening to them. Exactly. It's like trying to explain color to someone who was born blind. They literally cannot process the emotion properly. This led to Operation Nightmare, the most psychological warfare campaign in human history. Teams led by soldiers like Lieutenant Sam Mitchell began leaving signs of human presence everywhere the aliens went. They would break into alien camps while the warriors slept and rearrange their equipment in strange patterns. They would leave human objects, photographs, toys, books, in places where the aliens would find them. They would play recordings of human children laughing in empty buildings at night. Most disturbing of all, they began leaving messages written in the HFY language, translated by Dr. Carter's team. Simple messages like, "We are watching you," and "You cannot hide from us," appeared on walls and equipment throughout the alien-controlled areas. The psychological effect was devastating. HFY warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds began refusing to go out alone. They slept in groups, weapons always ready. They jumped at unexpected sounds and fired at shadows. Commander Zethlock found himself experiencing something his species had no name for: the constant feeling that danger was near, that invisible enemies were watching, that death could come at any moment from any direction. "Sir," reported his communications officer, "we are receiving reports from all sectors. Our warriors are requesting to return to the ships." "What? Why?" "They say the planet is haunted, sir. They say the humans are spirits that cannot be killed." Zethlock wanted to laugh, but he could not. He had felt it too, the sense of being watched, of being hunted. Even now, alone in his command center, he found himself looking over his shoulder. The humans had done something impossible. They had taken the galaxy's greatest predators and made them afraid. Not just afraid of dying in battle, which was honorable, but afraid of the dark, afraid of silence, afraid of being alone. For the first time in his long life, Commander Zethlock understood what it felt like to be prey, and he discovered that he did not like it at all. The humans were no longer hiding. They were hunting, and their prey was learning that being the hunted was much worse than being the hunter. The breaking point came on the 7th day. Commander Zethlock had not slept in 48 hours. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the whispers that seemed to follow him everywhere. Human voices speaking his name in the darkness. Footsteps, in empty corridors. The sound of breathing that stopped whenever he turned around. His warriors were no better. Reports came in of entire squads abandoning their posts rather than patrol alone. Some had even fired on each other, mistaking their own comrades for human attackers in the shadows. "Sir," Subcommander Vector entered the command center, his forearms shaking. "The humans have taken the Western District." "Impossible. We had 3 full companies stationed there." "They are gone, sir. We found their equipment arranged in circles, their weapons dismantled and placed in neat piles. But no bodies, no signs of fighting. The warriors have simply vanished." Zethlock stared at the tactical display. Over half his forces were marked as missing, captured, or refusing orders. The mighty Kethvar Empire, conquerors of 300 worlds, was being defeated by creatures they could barely see. "What do the humans want?" he asked, more to himself than to Vector. The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Helen Carter's voice filled the command center, speaking perfect Kethvar through their own communication system. "Commander Zethlock, this is the human resistance. We wish to speak with you." Zethlock looked around frantically. How had they gotten into his communications? "Where are you? Show yourselves." "We are everywhere, Commander, just as you have been everywhere in the galaxy for 3,000 years. But now you know what it feels like to be the ones who are hunted." In a bunker deep beneath the city, Captain Jake Morrison stood before a microphone surrounded by his command staff. They had finally managed to hack into the alien communication network, thanks to information gathered from captured equipment. "You have experienced fear, Commander Zethlock," Jake continued. "Your warriors have learned what it means to be prey. Now we offer you a choice." "What choice?" Zethlock's voice cracked through the speakers. "Leave our world. Return to your empire. Tell them what you learned here. Or stay and discover that we have only just begun to teach you about terror." Zethlock was quiet for a long moment. "You cannot defeat us with your tricks forever. We have ships that can destroy your entire planet." "Yes, you can kill us," Jake admitted. "But can you sleep at night knowing we might be watching? Can you eat without wondering if we poisoned your food? Can you trust your own shadows?" Through the alien communication system, they could hear other Kethvar voices in the background arguing in their harsh language. The aliens were discussing something urgently. Dr. Alex Turner leaned close to the microphone. "Commander, we have studied your species. You are predators who have never been prey. But we humans are different. We have been both hunter and hunted for our entire evolution. We know how to survive when stronger creatures want to kill us." "What are you saying?" "We are saying that you taught the galaxy to fear the Kethvar Empire, but we have taught the Kethvar Empire to fear humanity. The question is, which lesson is stronger?" The transmission went silent. Minutes passed. Then Zethlock's voice returned, but it sounded different now. Older, tired. "What guarantee do we have that you will let us leave?" Colonel Lisa Wright stepped forward. "The same guarantee you gave to the 300 worlds you conquered, Commander. None at all. The only difference is that we are offering you the choice to leave alive." The next few hours were the longest in human history. Satellite images showed activity around the alien ships. Some warriors were loading equipment. Others seemed to be arguing with their commanders. The massive ships powered up their engines, then shut them down again. Major Rick Thompson and his special operations team were hidden near the main landing site, watching through night vision scopes. "Command, I can see them loading prisoners onto the ships," he reported quietly. "Prisoners?" Jake Morrison asked. "Our people, sir. Looks like they're returning everyone they captured." This was unexpected. In all their intelligence about the Kethvar, there had been no mention of them ever returning prisoners. As dawn broke over the city, the alien ships began to rise into the sky. One by one, the massive vessels lifted off and climbed toward space. But they moved slowly, almost reluctantly, like creatures leaving a place they were not sure they wanted to leave. The last ship to depart was Zethlock's command vessel. As it reached the upper atmosphere, One final transmission came through the communication system. "Humans of Earth," Zethlok's voice was barely above a whisper. "We leave you your world. But know this, the galaxy will learn what happened here. They will learn that the great Kethvar Empire met creatures who could not be conquered." "And what?" "Will you tell them, Commander?" Jake Morrison asked. There was a long pause. When Zethlok spoke again, his words would be remembered by both species forever. "We will tell them that we found the one thing in the universe more dangerous than creatures who know only how to kill. We found creatures who know how to make killers afraid." The ships disappeared into the black of space, leaving Earth's sky empty and blue once again. In cities around the world, humans emerged from their hiding places, blinking in the sunlight like people waking from a nightmare. But the story did not end there. Within months, word of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy through the vast network of alien civilizations. The news was almost unbelievable. The mighty Kethvar Empire had retreated from a single world without firing a shot in anger. Other species that had suffered under Kethvar rule began to wonder, if these humans could make the galaxy's greatest predators afraid, what else might be possible? Some alien civilizations sent messages to Earth asking for help against their own oppressors. Others sent warnings about different threats approaching human space. A few sent gifts and offers of friendship, but most important of all, the Kethvar Empire itself began to change. Warriors who had never questioned their role as conquerors started asking difficult questions. If they could feel fear, what else might they be capable of feeling? If humans could choose mercy over revenge, what did that say about the nature of strength? Commander Zethlok returned to the home world of the Kethvar Empire a changed being. When the High Command demanded to know why he had retreated, he gave them an answer that would split their civilization in two. "Because," he said, "I learned that true strength is not the ability to kill without fear. True strength is the ability to choose not to kill, even when you are afraid." Some of the Kethvar listened to his words and began to question 3,000 years of conquest. Others called him a coward and demanded his execution. The empire that had been united in violence found itself divided by the possibility of peace. On Earth, humanity took its first careful steps into galactic politics. They did not come as conquerors or as victims, but as teachers. They had learned something valuable in their brief war with the Kethvar. Sometimes the greatest victory is not destroying your enemy, but showing them a different way to be strong. The galaxy would never be the same. And in the end, that might have been the most human thing of all.